She was ghosted without warning. Months later, she became the ghost. Love turned into revenge, and silence became her weapon. In the digital age of dating, one vanish leads to another. When heartbreak teaches silence, who really wins in modern love? In today's dating ecosystem, ghosting has become the unspoken epidemic of modern love. A quiet digital disappearance that leaves emotional debris scattered across text threads in unread messages. It's the modern heartbreak, wrapped in a read receipt. The story begins in Los Angeles, where Emma, a 29-year-old marketing consultant, thought she had finally met someone different. Jason, a charming software engineer from Chicago, spoke like he'd read every love language book in existence. They met on a dating app, a swipe that turned into weeks of late-night FaceTimes, playlists shared on Spotify, and those rare moments where hope felt tangible. But one day, the calls stopped. No explanation, no closure, just silence, like love evaporating into Wi-Fi signal loss. The psychology of ghosting reveals that it's not merely avoidance, it's emotional control disguised as absence. When Jason vanished, Emma spiraled into digital autopsy mode. She reread messages, overanalyzed emojis, and scrolled through his last seen timestamp. What she didn't realize was that her pain was incubating something darker, a quiet resentment that would eventually reshape how she approached connection. Because in modern dating, the line between victim and perpetrator is blurrier than ever. 6 months later, Emma started seeing David, a kind, grounded guy who worked in real estate. He showed up early for dates, remembered her favorite coffee order, and texted good morning without fail. But Emma wasn't fully present. She had learned from Jason that vulnerability was a liability. When David texted, she took hours to respond. When he asked about exclusivity, she said she needed space. Eventually, she ghosted him, deleted the thread, vanished. The irony was almost poetic. Ghosted, then ghosting. It wasn't revenge by design. It was survival by mimicry. She had absorbed the emotional logic of her ghoster. Vanish first, hurt less. This cycle isn't unique to Emma. Across America's dating landscape, millions are caught in the silent feedback loop of rejection and retaliation. Each ghost creates another ghoster. Every unanswered message teaches someone new how to disappear. It's an emotional chain reaction powered by fear and ego. Studies from modern relationship psychologists suggest ghosting activates the same neural pain centers as physical injury. When people experience it, they often unconsciously replicate the behavior later, projecting the pain outward to regain a sense of control. It's digital karma dressed in human insecurity. But ghosting has evolved beyond romance. It's now baked into communication itself. Texts ignored, emails unanswered, even friendships dissolved through silence. In the attention economy, people have learned that vanishing feels cleaner than confrontation. Yet what we lose in that silence is the dignity of closure. Modern love has turned avoidance into self-protection and vulnerability into risk management. Back in the story, Jason eventually resurfaced, not to apologize, but to check in. It was a casual text, the kind that reopens wounds under the pretense of nostalgia. "Hey, saw something that reminded me of you. Hope you're doing well." Emma read it 3 times, felt the mix of anger and validation, and didn't respond. In that moment, she believed she had reclaimed her power. But power built on silence isn't healing, it's defense. David, meanwhile, carried the sting of being ghosted. Weeks later, he met someone new, Samantha, a nurse with an infectious laugh. Things were great at first, until one day, Samantha stopped replying. The cycle continued. The hidden revenge in ghosting isn't about punishment, it's about repetition. We recreate what hurt us because it feels familiar, and in that familiarity, we mistake control for peace. In a world ruled by instant gratification, closure has become optional. The ghosting epidemic thrives on the illusion that detachment equals strength. Yet real emotional maturity isn't about who disappears first, It's about who communicates last with honesty. Every "I'm not feeling this anymore" text is a small act of courage in a culture addicted to escape. The digital dating scene has become a theater of masks. People perform affection until reality intrudes. The acts that promised connection have turned love into logistics. Algorithms optimizing attraction, profiles packaging personality. Ghosting fits perfectly in this system because it's efficient. It requires no explanation, no accountability, no empathy. It's the perfect breakup for a generation raised on disappearing messages and swiping options. But efficiency isn't the same as empathy, and in this quiet exodus of communication, humanity is what gets lost. Experts call this the avoidant echo. Each generation of daters inherits the emotional defense mechanisms of the last. The same way trauma echoes through families, digital avoidance now echoes through relationships. People fear rejection so deeply they preemptively reject others. Emma's silence to David wasn't malice, it was muscle memory. Her heart had learned that safety lived in distance. Still, cycles can be broken. Months later, Emma stumbled upon David at a coffee shop. The air between them was thick with unspoken apologies. Instead of pretending not to see him, she approached. They talked, not about what went wrong, but about how they'd both changed. It wasn't reconciliation, it was recognition. The moment reminded her that communication, even when messy, is what makes love human. For the first time, she sent a message later that day, not to reignite anything, but to say thank you. That small act was the beginning of unlearning. Because ghosting, at its core, isn't just a modern dating problem. It's a mirror of how we deal with discomfort. We've learned to scroll past pain, mute conflict, unfollow feelings. But human connection demands presence. It demands the courage to say, "This isn't working," instead of disappearing. The next evolution of modern love isn't faster or slicker, it's braver. It's learning that real closure doesn't come from silence. It comes from communication that costs you a little comfort. In the quiet war between honesty and avoidance, we all choose a side. But maybe it's time to retire the ghost stories and start telling human ones again. The truth is, every ghoster was once ghosted. Every silence carries an echo. And breaking the cycle starts with one person deciding to say what they mean, even when it's hard. If this story resonated with you, remember, empathy is the antidote to emotional extinction. Speak when silence tempts you. Show up when disappearing feels easier. The future of love depends not on algorithms or apps, but on courage. The courage to stay human in a world that rewards detachment. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of modern love and the unseen forces shaping our emotional world.